What's up, guys? I got another Comicsgate video for you. For this one, I wanted to do something a little different and try to explain something in a way because, in a different way, because the Marvel and comics creators are basically twisting it to make everybody that doesn't like them is racist or whatever. So I'm gonna go over a brief history of another company. Obviously you can see that it's Coke, and I'm gonna show you like how the world has changed and what's going on in this world. And I'm also gonna show you like the difference between like true capitalism and this new SJW era business, I guess. Okay, so first we got to start with in 1975, Pepsi came out with the Pepsi Challenge. That's where they would just go up, have random people come up to a table, and they would do a blind taste test of Coke and Pepsi. Now, Pepsi being sweeter is always going to win that taste test. You can rig it even further by making Pepsi first. I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you drink or eat something sweet and then drink something that is a little less sweet, it makes that taste bad. So that's kind of what Pepsi did. Being sweeter than Coke, almost every time, I think it's like 9 out of 10 times or something, people chose Pepsi over Coke. This campaign worked really well, even though it's like a bit manipulative. It's not like a true scientific test. But so this resulted in, we're going to skip forward to 1983. In 1983, Pepsi overtook Coke as the #1 seller of cola. So naturally, Coke wanted to do something about this. So what they did in 1985 is came out with New Coke. And New Coke was supposed to be sweeter and smoother than regular Coke. And basically what happened is they got rid of regular Coke and replaced it with New Coke. So they no longer made regular Coke, and they made New Coke. Now, it needs to be said that New Coke was taste tested by over 200,000 people, and people preferred New Coke. So it's not like this was a bad product. And New Coke, when it launched, it was a disaster. Like, people were losing their minds. When it came out, people were calling in, basically people that said they worked for Coke at the time. It was like the most insane thing. They were constantly, everybody was calling and complaining. There was people going out, like stores miles around, trying to find Coke. So what happened after this is Coke learned their lesson. It took them 79 days before they launched Coke Classic. So Coke Classic was the original recipe, and they ran it alongside New Coke. So that's fair. Like, you still have the new product, but you have the old product too now, and people love this. And actually what resulted was that Coke had a big sales boost by going back to Coke Classic. And in 1992, they renamed Coke, or New Coke, Coke 2. And then by 2002, Coke 2 was discontinued. Now, how this relates to Marvel. Marvel essentially has done the same thing. Where they took away beloved character. The original characters, basically the characters that made Marvel great. They put new characters in there and gave them the original character's name. So essentially what Coke did, said, this is New Coke. It's replaced with, they replaced the old one with the new one, and discontinued the original recipe. So they basically, for a lot of the Marvel characters, they discontinued the characters altogether. Now, naturally, people lost their minds. And this kind of loses its parallel in some aspects because Coke was tested. Like, the new Coke, people liked it before it replaced the old one. So this just points to, like, brand loyalty. Even because you can't replace the memories of, like, I mean, little things. These products become personal to you. And now that's just soda. Now think about characters that kids grew up with. And, like, these characters taught them morals. And, I mean, for a lot of people, they were parents to these people. Now you rip those characters out and put new characters in their place and give them the old character's name. So naturally, people aren't going to like this. This isn't the characters they grew up with. Now, like I said, the taste test prior, the taste test equivalent for what Marvel did would be the climate of the United States. Like, SJW stuff was going wild. It was getting really popular. We even saw, like, Hillary Clinton basically jumping on the SJW bandwagon. And they didn't foresee all the pushback. I don't know whether they researched their market. I imagine not. But now, like, we're at, like, where it splits off. Whereas Coke listened to their fans and were like, hey, we are going to bring back Coke and call it Coke Classic. We can still have what we think the people want and run it along next to the product they love. And Marvel has decided to double down on not changing things and decided to blame the fans. They have this other weapon because the people that they change the characters into are minority groups or so-called disenfranchised people. So if you don't like these characters, you're a racist. And then they say, we are trying to bring new people into the community that haven't been there before by giving them heroes that represent them, as if there aren't female, black, all kinds of heroes out there. They needed them to be the premier heroes. Now, if you don't like that, you're a racist. But how is it that the people that don't like their characters being changed racist, but the people that can't get into comics because the main characters aren't of their race, sex, sexual orientation, or whatever? How is that any different? I mean, except for the fact that you are changing something that's already established for one group. And that's even pretending that they actually care about the race, gender, whatever. Generally what people don't like is the forcedness of it. Like, you were doing it, you were putting somebody there just because of these things. And then they lose all character depth. So essentially what Marvel is doing, they almost bring back the original heroes with Marvel Generations. So Marvel Generations is basically the SJW equivalent of running Coke Classic alongside New Coke. Except for, it would be like if Coke Classic, instead of it actually being Coke Classic, it was just labeled Coke Classic and actually had New Coke in there. Like, they're going to pull the rug out from under you and be like, see, you were drinking New Coke all along. We knew it. That's essentially what Marvel's Generations is. Because they're bringing back the old characters, but they're only bringing them back to say, look how great the new characters are. Or in some cases, to transplant some of their backstory onto the new characters. So, in essence, it's more like rebranding the original characters. So maybe it's when equivalent to when the new Coke rebranded into Coke 2. But the problem is they're not bringing back the original characters, which people love, and they're just doubling down on that people don't like diversity. That their fans are racist. Now, this is a really unfair thing to do because comics have been diverse forever. Honestly, if you go back, I have like a old ass Black Panther. And X-Men. X-Men has been like since the beginning of X-Men. It has been about like it's an allegory. I think that's the word of it for race relations and stuff. So it's always been that way, without being overt with that. I guess it's pretty overt. X-Men's still pretty overt, but basically by just saying like everybody's racist and then putting that in your comics, you're just like bashing America. Let's not even get into that Captain America becomes a Nazi. This is most likely in response to when characters initially started to change and there was backlash to it. To me, I feel like that is a response to that. Basically, Captain America represents like all the American comic book fans who turn against the creators and everything that they see as good. They are the moral arbiters. Now this just shows like how SJWs feel about capitalism. Coke is a perfect example of capitalism. They took away something that people liked, and this actually resulted in them getting boosted sales. Like, think about this. If Marvel would just get rid of like these old characters or put them on their own comic books with different names, they would boost their sales. You look at people like Captain Cummings, Diversity in Comics. If you even look at like Comics Explained, like look how many people are interested in comics. Now, the two I said first, they are very critical of current Marvel, and the how fast they rose, they got following shows that there are a bunch of disenfranchised people. So, if Marvel would just go the route of Coke, their sales would boost overnight. It would be insane. They would still have the comics. You can still keep the characters. Just don't give them the original comics names. But you would boost your sales overnight. People would be happy to get their original characters back with their backstories, preferably with good writers who do not hate these heroes. And then put your other characters, like your, I don't know, I feel like it's a diversity checklist characters. You put them in their own comics, and people that like them will buy them. And then you can truly see, like, what people want. You have all this stuff. I mean, it's not like comics is all white men, so we just need to try out these things. These people have been there. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this. I forgot to even do my point. Basically, SJWs hate capitalism. Comics books have turned into like, I want to push my politics on you, even though it doesn't sell, and then I want to force you to finance my art. So the product goes downhill, but since they're against capitalism, it's about forcing you to fund my art, which you do not enjoy. And if you don't do that, you feel guilty. So it's like a double-edged sword. You can hate on the fans, and you're like, by them not changing anything and keeping the same writers and characters, they're basically tearing down capitalism in a way, like, that's kind of what SJW's like. They don't like capitalism. So by destroying this industry of comics, they're effectively like taking out a part of capitalism. It's likely that that void could be filled, but comics is kind of a dying art. So I don't know that it can handle the premier company being destroyed. That's all I got. I'm sorry I got a little rambly and mixed up. I don't actually write down what I'm going to say. But please let me know what you think of this. If you have any counterpoints, let me know in the comments. If you want to go check out some of my other videos, I'm giving away like the digital copies of some of the comics that I have, or that come in the comics that I review. And thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you want to see more like this, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. If you want to get alerted to whenever I make a video, hit the bell icon. And I'm looking, if this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, I do this from a newcomer to comics perspective. So this is just me viewing comics as a newcomer, as an outsider, just viewing it objectively. So that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think, guys. I'm going to stop rambling. Take it easy.